Good evening, world history students, or maybe you're watching this on Monday morning. Hello, and welcome to week number 2 of online learning. You guys did a phenomenal job the first week, keeping up with everything for the most part, and it was really nice of those of you who stopped in to say hello, whether you needed anything or not. It was really great to see your faces and to get a chance to talk with you. This week, I'm going to bet that you're going to need some help. And so before I even lay out what it is that we're going to be doing, I want to encourage you, if you have or if you haven't yet, to stay in touch via the Google Hangout function. Know that my normal office hours are from 1 to 3, but a lot of times I'm posting my office hours earlier. My own kids are working on schoolwork, and I throw the Google Hangout thing up on our classroom board, and you're welcome to drop in and get help from me over the world history stuff, or just to say hello anytime. This week, the objective is going to be to put together a independent project or a small group project based around the concept of revolutions. All right, we've finished the French Revolution, and we are seeing how a wave of nationalism and this idea of a group of people creating a government, a society that's shaped around their common culture, their common values, their common heritage, all of that is coming to a head in the 19th century, moving on into the 20th century. We are moving into the century in which I was born. And lest you think that I was born during the time that we're going to be talking about, I'm not that old. But we are turning the page of history into the 20th century for some of you this week with a revolutions project. So what does that mean? It means that we are going to be looking at all of the change that's taking place in the middle to the late part of the 19th, early 20th centuries. Revolution is a massive upheaval, whether it's a war like the French Revolution was, or maybe it's more of a cultural revolution. That's going to be the major theme of our assignment. So what is our assignment, and how much time do we have to do it in? Very good questions. Let me answer that for you. So when you go to our Google Classroom page this week, you'll be able to see 3 new things in our classwork Dropbox. Okay, under classwork, Unit 11, Industrial Revolution and the Age of Nations, we've got 3 things. Let's start with the top one up here. This is the Revolutions Project, and you're clicking on the expectations and rubric portion here. And so this is the basic outline for what it is that you're going to be doing, whether it's a well, I'll just tell you in summary, you are putting together a formal presentation on a subject that deals with one of 8 different topics. Okay, so let's open it up and look at what we've got here. So this is in conjunction with Mr. Lura's class. They did this project last year, and it went over really well. Our options include not the French Revolution. We've covered that. We've passed it. We're putting it behind us. But the Industrial Revolution, the labor movement and the labor revolution, women's suffrage, and the changing of the opinion of the world as far as what kind of role women should have in politics and government. The Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, which gives rise to the socialist and communist movements of Europe. Modernism, which is kind of a catch-all movement for the new modern values that are taking place in the 20th century, whether it's an art movement or whether it's women's rights, whether it's how to raise your family, the role of religion, all kinds of different stuff wrapped up in this idea of modernism, but new values of the 20th century taking place there. the Mexican Revolution. Since this is world history, we want to look at a couple of different examples of revolutions throughout the world. The Mexican Revolution, the Opium Wars in the middle of the 19th century, and the Boxer Rebellion, which happens right at the tail end of the 19th century, 1899 to 1900 in China. A very important little moment in our own history that very few people are familiar with. And so we've got good examples of cultural, political, military, economic, social revolutions that are taking place. So where are we finding all this stuff in our book? Well, we've finished up chapter 23. We're moving into chapters 24, 25, 26, part of 27. Why so much? Well, there's much left to get to. We would love to get into World War I, World War II, some Cold War stuff in Vietnam. Take advantage of this online learning and technology. And so we are trying to create this opportunity here to catch some of the best parts of those coming chapters. So how are we doing it? Well, we are going to be creating a formal presentation, and you're going to be presenting this to the class almost like a speech. You can use a PowerPoint, okay, but we do need to see you teach and not just talk at or read off of a note card, but we want you, and when I say we, Mr. Lura and I want you to work on these fundamental skills of presentation, okay? Whether that is talking to a camera and trying to engage an audience across distance learning like we're doing here, or whether it's standing in front of a crowd and presenting something to teach others. So teach, don't preach. Okay, that's the big thing. And so what kind of medium are you going to use? Well, that really depends on your comfort with technology. I've found a lot of capability with Google Hangouts, with Screencastify. I don't want to give a whole list of options because then you think you're limited to that list. Best thing is if you're wondering, will such and such a program work? Run it by me or Mr. Lura. And my guess is that the answer is going to be yes. But if you're unsure, that's the best way to check it out. Okay. So this report is going to focus on the key people, the key events, the timelines, specific facts and things that are taking place in your area of history, and what kinds of effects this event or this moment in history had on a region or the world in the short term, in the long term. And so we've created a nice rubric here for you to follow along so you understand what points you need to get, what's expected in order to get those points, so on and so forth. But how formal is this? Well, we're hoping that you'll put in the time to find multiple sources, 5 sources, no more than 2 of these sources. The whole no more than 2 of any type of source, unless more than the minimum is used. Since we don't have access to the library, my guess is that we'll be willing to allow you to use electronic sources. But we do want multiple sources, 5 sources. You're going to be putting together a fact sheet. This fact sheet and bibliography are going to be due by Thursday. Okay. What that is, it's like an outline of your information, your specific factual information that you're going to be covering in your presentation. We want that early, so we see that you're making progress, that you're not just kind of winging it, that you have a wide range of resources, that you're covering the most important parts of your topic. You can't cover everything. World history and these topics are so incredibly broad. We want you to pick the good stuff. We want you to narrow it down and teach a lesson that will leave an impact on your students, the rest of the classes here that are joining us online. And then the presentation itself, which you will record Friday or over the course of the weekend, should amount to about 5 minutes. So be sure you're polished. Be sure that your content is tailored to the audience that you intend to present to, which is high school sophomores. So you keep us engaged. You teach us something about your time in history, and you're looking at roughly 5 minutes of speaking. I mean, for me, that's incredibly easy. I talk a lot all the time, but 5 minutes for some of you might be a push. So be sure that you perhaps practice a little bit to make sure that your time is in that ballpark. Okay. If you're wondering, well, what if we're over? What if we're under? You know, a 30-second grace period in competitive speech is pretty natural, pretty normal. If you go above 5 minutes and 50 seconds, don't go incredibly too far beyond that, because we don't have all day, right? You need to be able to determine what's most important. If you waste a bunch of time with trivial details that everybody already knows, that's really not accomplishing what the heart of this project is. Okay. So if you have questions about that, ask me. All right. You can take a look at the rubric yourself. But once again, your fact sheet and your bibliography, which is in MLA format, is due on Thursday. Right now, our slated deadline for the project itself is Friday, but I'll tell you what, Friday, we'll call that our publishing day. You and your group can work on publishing and putting that together and posting it. And the drop dead deadline will be Monday morning. Okay. And so I don't want a whole bunch of questions about how to finish this up on Monday. At that point, we're moving into late territory. But if you need the weekend to tie up loose ends, you got it. Okay. The next thing I want to show you here is the group assignments. Now, I've got 5 periods of world history. We're all in this thing together, and I have assigned each of you to a topic area. Okay, so there's about 10 to 15 people in each of these 8 topic areas. You do not have to work with all of them. You can work on your own if you want to, but you need to stick to the topic area that you've been assigned. Now, what does that mean? Okay, if you want to work with up to 3 or 3 other people out of this larger pool of people in your same topic area, great. You can split up the responsibilities, and each group's responsibilities are pretty similar. So one person is focusing on the key people from your period of time. Another one is focusing on the most important events that took place or that really defined your time, or something to that effect. Okay. An alternative to this is, let's say you want to work on your own. Okay. So we've got the women's suffrage group here. Okay. And we'll say that Peyton Coulter doesn't want to work with a group. She wants to work by herself. What I would say is to Peyton, then pick someone or pick a topic related to women's suffrage during the time frame we're looking at, from 1880 to about 1920. So the modern era of world history here, and take that person and do a project over them, or take a movement. Let's say the choice is to go with Alice Paul, and I'm going to do a project on Alice Paul. I'm going to tailor it to that. So she's staying within the women's suffrage topic. She's going to give us a biography over Alice Paul, and she's going to cover this material on her own. Okay, that's an alternative to doing a small group project. Many hands usually means lighter work, but I also understand that, considering the circumstances and considering peer dynamics, you may opt to work on your own. Just talk to me and let me know what your thoughts are on that. And if you need help picking a specific topic, I'd be happy to help you. Okay. And so that is item number 2 on our list of new assignments on Google Classroom. Item number 3, I've already referenced this, but this is going to be the Dropbox for your fact sheet and bibliography. This is what is due on Thursday. No ifs, ands, or buts. We need that benchmark to make sure that we are not procrastinating this until Sunday night at 11 p.m. and then making excuses on Monday like, oh, yeah, my dog got coronavirus and barfed on my computer, and now I really set back. But I was right on top of it, Mr. Hofer. I'm not so sure because your fact sheet and your bibliography weren't in on Thursday. But we want to use the time that we're being given accordingly. I think that if each day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you put in somewhere between half an hour to 45 minutes of work, that is really setting you up to be successful and to take care of business without too much additional demand, especially over the weekend. Okay? Because even though we're locked inside, isn't it wonderful to have Saturday and Sunday where it's just focused on breathing and trying to make sense of all of this stuff, right? So those are 3 things that have been added to Google Classroom. I would think that you and I will be speaking at some point via Google Hangout. Okay? Bring your ideas. Don't bring panic. If you have questions, if you have creative ideas, great. Come and share them with me. I want this to be a type of situation that encourages you to research something, investigate something, create something that's meaningful, as opposed to just being like stuck in a rut. Okay. I don't always have all the answers. They don't always find their way right into the instructions, but usually the best projects are those where you guys take the reins and run with it. Okay. So that's it. Congratulations again on 1 week getting knocked down. Another week is here, and looks like there's not an end in sight for this quarantine, but together we will overcome it. And I have the utmost confidence. Just be sure that you stay in touch with people, that you, are taking time to be physically, mentally, and spiritually well. Okay? All right. Take care, everybody. Later.